In the year Salman Rushdie was born in Bombay, that year of Midnight's Children, another great Bombay writer left the city never to return. Like Rushdie, he was a writer of places, of cities, of streets, of small towns, rather than of countries. Abstractions made his imagination recoil. Like Rushdie, he reveled in the plurality of the subcontinent. He saw its variety as a literary opportunity, and like Rushdie, it took him everywhere, from brothels to drawing rooms, from riots into film studios, up and down and across the country, ahead and back in time. It was as if, like Rushdie, his response to the forces that sought to carve up his country, to limit his worldview, was an ever greater celebration of its variety. It was as if he sought to make whole what history had torn asunder. His name was Saadat Hasan Manto, and he, like our guest today, was to pay a very heavy price for his imagination, which within years of his immigration to Pakistan, before Salim Sinai was 10 years old, was smothered. And it is impossible now, when one considers the direction that country was to take in the name of faith, not to see the quiet snuffing out of this big literary talent in those opening years of the Islamic Republic as anything but a fearful indication of what was to come. We, here in India, are fortunate to have fared better, fortunate not to have ceded too much ground to the bearded men or the thugs in saffron. And yet, the presence of our guest here today forces us to ask ourselves what kind of place we want to be. The presence here of this ultimate man of the imagination, a writer who has given us as complete and dazzling a body of work as any has ever made, one in which it feels at times that the whole last century on the subcontinent and more is contained. His presence here today forces us to ask ourselves what kind of place we want to be. One that would sacrifice before the rage of a threatening crowd the freedom of its great writers, or one that recognizes that we are in this business of liberty not so that the thunder of a mob might be heard, but that our most original and provocative voices, those that have the power to invigorate our intellectual life, are heard and protected. The question has to be asked, because Salman Rushdie's presence here today forces us to confront an ugly truth about ourselves. And that is that nobody has quite let down Rushdie like we have. When in 1989 we ought to have taken him to our breast, ought to have defended his liberty, we responded instead by becoming the first country to ban the satanic verses. When he was most vulnerable, when we should have made it our duty to ensure his security, we passed that responsibility on to other countries and made his travel to India a virtual impossibility. And just the other day, in this bright new age we claim to be in, we let him down again for the most cynical reasons by stifling his voice at the Jaipur Literary Festival. I don't have to tell you that even his coming here today has hardly been easy, and given the disappointments he suffered at our hands, and given that he has many other places to go, places that have better nurtured his talent than we have, it is sometimes hard to know why he comes at all. I like to think that it is for our sake, for the sake of our intellectual life, for our hope of liberty, and perhaps because he still believes, as I do, that we might, despite the cowardice and cynicism of our politicians, truly become the place we intend to be. One that recognizes that if it is to chart a course different from those places where silence has prevailed over thought, it cannot afford to shy away from intellectual provocation. It cannot afford to let that list of banned books get any longer. It cannot afford to let down moderate Muslims and Hindus by supporting the worst among them for political gain. If it is to be the place it means to be, it must defend the imagination. It must defend its boldest voices. It must stand up for men like our guest today. Must celebrate them as they have celebrated us. The Liberty verses, I am what I am, and that's all that I am, that is our subject this evening. Please join me in welcoming home one of our greatest men of letters. Sir Salman Rushdie, you have no idea how happy we are to see you.